Pepe le Moko is a French film by director Julien Duver, made in 1937, and is set in a Casbah in Algeria, which was then French occupied. Pepe le Moko is a gangster movie, in particular a film noir, as it focuses on cynical attitudes. It is also an example of poetic realism, as it is set in an urban, impoverished location and explores the ideas of escape and freedom from an enclosed social space. This film also displays a huge array of cinematic techniques that were very modern and expensive in the 1930s. It's almost as if the director was showing off these techniques in the film. The main cinematic technique is camera movement, which we'll be looking at further. The clip I am analysing runs from 3 minutes and 9 seconds to 5 minutes and 9 seconds. The clip begins with an image of the map we see here and an inspector speaking. The image then fades into another image of the Casbah, and we see a sweeping pan shot of the Casbah, and music begins.
Le quartier d'Alger qu'on appelle la Casbah, profond comme une forêt, grouillant comme une fourmilière, est un vaste escalier dont chaque terrasse est une marche et qui descend vers la mer.
Before at the police station, there was no music. It was very calm and civilized. The music begins when we first see the Casbah and slightly increases in volume throughout this clip. It sounds very chaotic and loud, which gives the impression that the Casbah is a very noisy place and is the complete opposite to the outside world, where there is no music. From this pan shot, we see a very urban location, with thousands of buildings almost built on top of each other. The pan shot gives us a real scale of just how big and full the Casbah is. The camera then moves to a more bird's eye view, looking down through the Casbah, and we have diagonal shots, really creating a sense of confusion and disorientation, and it further illustrates the depth of the Casbah. Moreover, from only the first lot of seconds of this clip, we as the viewer already have a sense of isolation, as we are not part of the Casbah, due to these far distant shots and subjective camera. We can never really understand nor navigate the Casbah until we are actually in it. This is what the police say right at the start of the film, and foreshadows how Pepe le Moko will be arrested from somebody inside the Casbah. The camera then moves to eye level, and it is in the street amongst the people. The viewer immediately gets a greater sense of what it is like to be in and experience life in the Casbah. The camera is always moving and gives a real depth of scale. It flashes the street names, which are all in French. The first one was Streets of Helplessness. The second here is the street of the city Somme. Somme is a part of Paris. This conveys the main theme throughout the film, that Pepe is yearning to go back to Paris, as it is his home. We have Honey Hotel Street and the Man with Pearl Street. This is slightly ambiguous, as we know full well it should be Woman with Pearl, from the famous painting by Vermeer. This shows how the Casbah is not ordinary, nor what we are likely to expect. It's very alien to us. Also links to Pepe, as he steals jewellery, and Grandpa, who evaluates these treasures. The camera is then thrown into the crowd, and it is at foot level and being pushed around and kicked. The image constantly goes in and out of focus. It's almost like the camera is screaming that it doesn't understand, and it displays the lack of control and almost the lack of police control. It jumps from person to person and race to race, and shows how full and busy the Casbah is. Gives the sense there is always something happening. Here in the maison scene, we have lots of different costumes, and it's almost a stereotype of the different race. Also, from this, it almost creates a sense of family within each race of people, that they're in the Casbah together, but they don't really belong in the Casbah. We next move to the girls, and still the camera is moving in and out of focus.
Les petites, les sans âge, les sans forme. La mine de graisse, nul n'ose se risquer.
The girls are in a category unto their own. It almost gives the impression now that they are on a different level than the men and that they are of a higher hierarchy. Similarly, the camera quickly changes from different girls, and it shows that there are thousands and thousands of girls in the Casbah. By putting the girls together shows they have almost an authority and a dominance in the Casbah, almost as if the Casbah belongs to them and that they are in control. All of the girls in this clip are elaborately dressed, and they are all wearing lots of jewellery, which shows their wealth. Here we see a glass beaded necklace and another necklace here, although it's not sure where this wealth would come from, perhaps prostitution. Also, the clothes seem heavily embroidered and patterned, and despite the film being in black and white, we can tell that the attire of these girls is all brightly coloured, which gives a sense of fun, almost as if they are enjoying themselves in the Casbah, or perhaps they're just enjoying being in control. This is also emphasised because all the women seem to be talking in this clip. It's like their voices have power in the Casbah and they are listened to. In this shot, the subtitles say, "No one would dare approach." This is the police talking, and it seems that the police are almost afraid of these women, although it could be more than just the police, but just maybe man in general, and the fear of women themselves. This foreshadows what later happens in the film, as it is a girl that causes Pepe to leave the Casbah and meet his end. It's almost pre-warning that you shouldn't approach women in general. The camera then moves to a bird's eye view and panning shot of the terraces and the courtyards in the Casbah. It shows how entwined the Casbah is and how maze-like it is, and it has different levels and spaces within spaces. It also shows how news spreads quickly from house to house and from group to group. Again, the viewer feels isolated, as we are not in the Casbah and we do not know what is going down in there. We're just looking down. It shows how little we know about what goes on in there. In the Casbah, everyone is very connected, but outside you are very alienated. But again, the Casbah has a family-like feel, as they are working together, perhaps against the police. And it seems that if you were in the Casbah, you are in the know of what is happening. Also, terraces are used by women, which illustrates their sense of dominance, as they know their way around the Casbah, so they probably know what's actually happening inside. The camera then moves back to a panning shot of Casbah, but this time it stretches down to the sea. This emphasises the constant idea of belonging and to go home. It seems that you just need to leave the Casbah and cross the sea to get to Paris, which is home, which seems so simple, but in reality is so hard.
Colorée, vivante, multiple, hurlante. Il n'y a pas une Casbah, il y en a 100. Il y en a 1000.
The clip then fades back to the original map in the police office, and in the right-hand side is the word Babel. This emphasises the massive assortment of different nationalities and different languages in the Casbah, a sense it cannot be governed as there are so many different people, so many different ideas and traditions, each person doing their own thing, which also emphasises the confusion. The map also looks sort of like a honeycomb, and the Casbah has almost been described as one, as having lots of interlocking spaces, levels and passages. This again emphasises the woman's dominance, as a queen bee is in charge of a beehive, and women are in charge of the Casbah. The camera goes on a journey in this short clip. It starts at the map, then does a pan of the Casbah, a bird's eye view, then it is in the streets, and then it goes back to a bird's eye view, and it does another pan of the Casbah, and then finally back to the map where we first began, in the police's office. This shows how the police, or anyone on the outside, only knows a very little about the Casbah, and how it is still alien and confusing to them. It also shows that they do not belong in the Casbah, and that to really understand the Casbah, you have to be part of it. This again challenges the idea of belonging. Who really belongs in the Casbah? And that to everyone the Casbah is something different, as everyone makes their own means in the Casbah. They make the best of what they can. That is why it is so hard to understand to outsiders. Moreover, the map in the police office is very basic and almost childlike. This again shows the little understanding the police have of it, and the lack of authority in the Casbah. Despite this clip being right at the beginning of the film, it gives a lot of pointers as to what actually will happen within the film. From this clip we have seen the lack of authority the police have in the Casbah, and how little they understand of it, and how little you can understand of it if you're on the outside. The power women have in the Casbah, it is definitely their domain, and that they are feared by the outsiders. The idea of belonging and who actually belongs in the Casbah, and why they are there. The constant yearning to go home, that the Casbah isn't home, but Paris is home. And the main ideas throughout the film of belonging and escapism, as Pepe has freedom in the Casbah, but he's not actually free to leave it.